Ian, we have a Patreon, don't we?
Patreon.com/CU podcast. You go, you pay, get a full video podcast.
You pay.
You get weekly writings. You get a hangout. Are we hanging out this weekend or next weekend?
We hung out a week and a half ago, I thought, didn't we? It'll be a couple of weeks, I think.
All right.
At least.
All right, so we're not doing that right now.
I gotta see when the last hangout
You get
was.
bonus stuff.
But bonus, Ian?
Yep, bonus podcasts. And you get access to these polls.
This place, this is almost it's not almost 2/3 Pat math. Second place, hardest NES boss fights with 5 exclamation points, only got 37%. I was really trying with those explanation points. Exclamation, Pat. I'm getting tired. In first place, 63%. Would Nintendo attempt to acquire a game company like, for say, Sega or Konami or Capcom in the wake of the Sony purchase of Destiny or Bungie, and in the wake of obviously the huge acquisition of Microsoft buying Activision Blizzard? What do you think, Ian? Would they? Not should they, as you said.
Yeah, I don't think they will. I don't think they will. I don't think they feel the need to compete on that level with Microsoft and Sony. Nothing Bungie did ever touched a Nintendo console. And Microsoft we'll see where Microsoft goes, how accessible, the games under the Activision Blizzard banner are going forward. It has always seemed, at least the past couple of years, that Nintendo and Microsoft has a decent working relationship. We'll see what they get. But Nintendo, what sells a Nintendo system? It's the first party stuff. It's always the first party stuff. It's Nintendo made stuff. It's your Marios, your Zeldas, your Metroids, your Splatoons, your gobbledygoos,
your Pokemons,
your
Pokemonses.
And that's what gets people into the Nintendo ecosystem. I don't know a whole lot of people who are adults that don't have something else in addition to their Nintendo for perhaps playing third-party games or something like that. I would actually really love to see that stat. What percentage of Switch owners own another current console? That's it. I think there are a few companies that would almost feel like they'd be a fit for Nintendo if Nintendo were to go after a company. I'm not saying they should, as we've spoken about. I don't like these acquisitions. I'm not rooting for this in any way, shape, or form. But if Nintendo is going to go for one, I think Sega would make some sense.
I'm surprised you said that. I thought you were going to say something else.
I think Sega would make some sense for Nintendo. I think just in terms of, Sega's overall feel, especially if you go back to their arcade days. But they always but the Sonic stuff is happy. They're kind of a blue to use.
Would it really be a sale of Sonic? Would they really even care about most of the other stuff, you think? Because obviously Sonic has been in the Olympic Games,
right?
Crossover,
They could do a lot of other stuff, but I think the sale would mostly be for Sonic. Yes, of course.
Because the licensing for like the Streets of Rage and like the Switch Online and that stuff is not a lot of money, probably.
No. So I think it would almost make sense. Another one is Way Forward has always seemed like a developer that goes hand in hand with Nintendo, especially because so many Way Forward games came out on the DS and the 3DS. Okay. Way Forward is Shantae, and all those like really nice 2D games. A lot of their stuff feels like Nintendo product.
What was the last main Sonic game that came out? Let me look it up.
The last main one was Sonic Forces, I guess.
Forces. Okay, look that up. Okay, go on.
Yeah. But I think Way Forward is actually doing the they're doing the Advance Wars reboot. The Advance Wars 1 and 2, the reboot is being done by Way Forward. So I just feel like their look, their feel, their style of game, a lot of it is 2D platformers, a lot of it is Metroidvania type stuff. I think they would be a really good fit for Nintendo, if Nintendo was going to go and look for. So I would say probably Sega and Way Forward.
Okay, I'm surprised you said. I thought you were going to say like Capcom instead of Sega.
But Capcom would kind of make sense to me too,
because they had a similar relationship with the Resident Evil stuff back in the day.
They didn't have a relationship.
Well, I mean, like Resident Evil 4.
Oh, sure.
Stuff like that. And then
Yeah.
GameCube.
I think a lot of people think about Capcom too, because when you think about Nintendo, especially when you think about the original Nintendo, you know, a lot of your bangers on the original Nintendo were Capcom games.
I'm not saying if they bought Capcom, you'd have like a Mega Man Resurrection and have all these different series, but like obviously Nintendo could do something with Mega Man. They would probably utilize it maybe more than not.
You would hope. Again, that goes back to what I talked about a little bit earlier in the podcast with. That's what you hope, but it never seems to be that way when people do buyouts. They don't focus on the smaller stuff. They focus only on the big stuff and crank that out.
That's why I said, like, yeah, buying Sega would be just for Sonic, but like, I guess what it comes down to is like, how much would the sale move the needle? Like, I'm trying to find out, like, how well did something like Sonic Forces do? Like, what did it actually? How many copies were sold?
Not a whole lot, I would guess. It wasn't a massive release. I mean, it was kind of a Sonic spin-off, but it was a Sonic game.
I'm looking at okay, I got to find that. I looked that up. It didn't get good reviews, it looks like.
No.
Then they announced their open world one, right? That's going to come out in probably a few years or a couple years. So you're buying a mascot. That's basically what the sale is. You're buying a mascot because it's not like the games. A Sonic game will never do close to a mainstream Mario game. It's not even the same ballpark. This isn't 30 years ago. So what are you buying? You're buying a mascot, merchandising. There you go. You can do merchandising. You already have them in Smash, so it's not like that. And Smash doesn't come out too often anymore anyway. It's like one every 5 years or whatever. There's not much you can do with Sonic. So to me, it wouldn't make sense. There's not a whole lot Nintendo would get out of that. They're talking about the other properties. There's not a lot of other properties you're going to make a lot of money on new games anymore. Like, yeah, Streets of Rage 4 comes out and people like it.
Oh, they would get Persona.
They get Persona? Okay.
They got all of Atlas's stuff. So there's a lot of popular modern stuff that we don't think of as Sega properties.
So the Atlas stuff
that are now Sega properties.
Okay. So you think Nintendo want to delve into maybe potentially like some of the Atlas stuff? Some of the
it would be good for them, I think.
It'd be good for them. It'd be good for them. They have the Shin Megami Tensei series,
which that's another reason I bring that up, because Shin Megami Tensei 5 is a Switch exclusive.
Yeah, so it's like they had that relationship.
And Atlas was a huge supporter of the DS and the 3DS, so it's not just Sega. Like, yeah, you got. It's not. I'm not talking about the Sega that late 90s. All their current acquisitions would make them.
So the relationship's already there.
Yeah.
So it doesn't make sense anyway. Yeah.
Well, you could finalize it.
Sure. And then we didn't talk about Konami, which doesn't seem like they make games anymore. Obviously,
Konami is the only one that you could buy or like pick up right now, and I think you would actually see an improvement in the output, because right now there's nothing.
I mean, it's not even a joke with Konami. They're a gambling company at this point. And obviously they license out their older games for re-releases.
Everyone, like they just did a re-release. They did a re-release of like one of their pocket Powerful Pro Yaku games, the Power Pro Baseball games. But like, other than some of their Winning 11 stuff and their Power Pro stuff, where they can just kind of update rosters and ship out a new game, that's really all you're getting.
I mean, you look at
Castlevania just had its anniversary, and we got NFTs. We got fucking NFTs.
I mean, we had re-releases the past year or two, limited run.
Yeah, but nothing new. Ones. Nothing we were really expecting.
Okay, this is what. Holy shit! This isn't even a joke. In 2019, there were all anniversary collections, arcade classics, Castlevania, Contra Road Core, and then there was the one football game. In 2020, Skeletak. What the hell is Skeletak? I'll look that up. And the football 2021 update. Yep. That's all Konami did in 2020.
Yep.
They did a roster update in a game called Skeletak,
which I've never heard of,
which is on Steam. It looks like a cute little cartoony game. Did they the devs?
Is that an app game?
They're not the dev. So that,
of course not.
That's almost like, sounds like someone did a favor. That's what it sounds like.
Right.
Like, why would they do one Steam game we never heard of on there?
Yeah, this doesn't look anything like Konami.
2021, you got Getsu Fumaden, Undying Moon.
Yeah, I do remember that came out. That was like kind of big.
Okay, what type of game is that?
It's a platformer based off of one of their classic Famicom games that never came over here.
Okay.
It's got really nice art.
A game called Crime Site. Almost sounds like an arcade game where you shoot.
Yeah, it does.
Is that a shooter in the arcade?
I'm gonna find out.
No, it's a mystery simulation game with player versus player action. Okay, they developed that. Okay, and then Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel.
Right. Yeah, that came out.
So they're still making. Every other year they're making games, because in 2020 they literally did not make a game. I don't count Skeletak, they didn't develop that. I don't count a fucking roster update as making a game.
No.
And the year before that, Contra Rogue Core was what they did.
And that game looked fucking awful.
They didn't develop that. Okay,
No.
excuse me. They didn't develop that. So you're talking about before this year, you got to go back to 2018, like Super Bomberman R. And a game called, what's Metal Gear Survive? Which one was that?
I don't know, but that's well after Metal Gear mattered because Kojima is not there.
I didn't know that came out. Metal Gear Survive. It's a survival action adventure with tower defense elements. Okay.
Oh,
Okay.
good. We love tower defense.
So if Nintendo bought Konami,
I do actually.
you think they would bring back Metal Gear Solid? Is that something in their wheelhouse? That's not really their brand. A game
No,
like that.
it's not, and I don't see them doing that. I also don't see them putting a lot of effort into bringing Castlevania back. Although Castlevania was featured in the most recent Smash, and it was kind of a big deal on the Nintendo.
But all these other ones have sort of filled the Metrovania spots because we haven't got a real Castlevania
Right.
sequel. So it's like, is that even worth it? You buy the rights, the re-releases. There's all the re-releases that's already happened. It's not worth their time. It probably wouldn't be. It probably wouldn't be. I would pick Capcom if they had to go one. Just do Capcom. I would do that.
Sure.
Personally.
Yeah, makes sense.
But here's the other thing we didn't bring up. It's like, well, I don't know how the culture thing works. All these companies being bought out, like Bungie and like Activision Blizzard, or they're like, they're North American companies, right? So I don't know how that works. They're Japanese companies buying other Japanese companies. It's a whole different culture there. I don't know how that would go over versus just having partnerships. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If that's the thing too. But we'll just say in a perfect world, my pick would be Capcom. That's my pick. But Capcom does pretty well still. So like, they're not as bad as Konami just selling freaking pachinko machines and slot machines.
Fortune Cup Deluxe machines to casinos.
Are GDR machines being made still?
Yeah, I believe so.
You think they're making those still?
I don't know.
That's Konami, right?
Yeah, it is.
GDR machines.
And they're still popular. I don't know if they're putting out new versions. I don't know when the last Beatmania 2DX was.
Do they still make GDR machines? There are currently 50 GDR-A machines in America, mostly relegated franchises like Dave & Buster's. Okay. It sounds like they're still making them, but there's not.
Yeah, they probably do, and they just get firmware updates with different.
Yeah, I figure
packages.
because the hardware machine is the same.
It's at this point, it probably there's not a whole lot of upgrading that needs to be done.
It's a pad
right.
with arrows. Like, what else do you need, right? So you're right. Like, you don't need more buttons on the top or front. It's just, you're right. It's new software, firmware. All right. Well, that was interesting, Ian.
Yeah.
That was interesting.